Hey guys, welcome back to the Tough Love Podcast with Dr. John O'Connor. Today's guest, friend, actor, fitness enthusiast, Berto Colon. Welcome back, my friend.
Good to see you again, John.
Brother, there's been a lot going on. Our last pod, we were rapping about fitness and culture and then what you were chasing. Let's talk a little bit about that evolution. You know, I'm chasing right now with the coaching and everything I'm doing with MedRay Laser and technology. You motivate me, bro. Your hustle is unbelievable, how you jump in. And I think the audience needs to know, even somebody that's celebrated with you, that's been on, you know, some awesome shows and movies, etc., how fast you have to be ready to perform at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
And go.
Yeah, so I mean, it was interesting because I was at a stage where I was chasing a lot. There was a lot coming down the pike, and I had a couple of strikeouts, right? So there was some high expectations that I had, and I had a couple of little strikeouts there. So it tends to mess with you a little bit.
I felt it.
It tends to mess with you a little bit. We chatted afterwards. You checked in, by the way. Thank you. You checked in. I told you it didn't pan out. You said it, you know. We continue to grind. We just continue to grind.
100%.
And I did. And because that's what we know how to do. That's what we know to do. So turns out I ended up, of all those little prospects, one of the passion project ones I would classify as a passion project is a movie that I just finished with Luna Lauren Velez and her twin sister Lorena.
Which I love because we talked about this earlier. I had no idea there were two of them.
Yeah, so that was something. See, that was an independent project. That was on the slate for a while. You know, the first reading of that movie was in 2022 and we shot it in 2025.
Okay.
So it takes time. And for something like that,
gotta let it marinate.
Yeah, well, it just takes time to get things done, to get things produced, to get the money, to get the backing. And so, but you know what? In faith and in all honesty, you know, they kept their word. The reading went well. And I said, listen, this is so good. Whenever you figure this out, please bring me back. And it is so honorable. And I told them this when we wrapped this week that, God, you know, someone in this industry kept their word. Yeah. And so the energy for the last 2-3 weeks has been high.
Yes.
You know, and so along the way, while we had those prospects when we last spoke, along the way, along that time, during those 2 weeks, I had a couple of other go-sees, a couple of auditions, and I ended up booking a very, very cool gig that I'm super excited about. But until I'm on the plane, literally flying to set, more to come on that. But yeah, I'm going to be part of a very amazing franchise, very amazing writer, television writer who's blowing up. Well, he's got a franchise of different shows. So excited to say that I'm going to be working again soon. Things always happen when the energy is high and when you keep the faith and you keep grinding. You know, these things just, they fall into place. So it's so good to be in this position knowing that there's going to be work, you know?
I'm excited for you. And
Thank
you know
brother.
what? I remember sending the text over and it was funny because I was checking in, you know, being a business coach and coaching sports for a good part of my adult life. I don't care what the age is, especially when it's like your core dudes. And I know we connected years ago in patient care, but I was laughing. I'm like, we're going to roll. Things are going to happen. Good things are going to happen with us. I could feel it. Just like we're on the field and we're down at halftime and we're on Fordham together, it would have been like, hey, we didn't come here to be second place.
Yeah.
And it was funny when I talked to you today, we talked about energy, and both podcast guests prior today was the same thing. It is amazing when you can quiet that voice in your head, silent focus. It is amazing how much you can accomplish.
It's crazy power, man. It's the most powerful. I mean, the mind is everything. I mean, you know, I heard a little quote today that was good. I always try to keep something for the day, but it's like, you know, your body wants to quit before your mind does. It's like you think you're tired, but you have like 3 or 4 or 5 more sets.
Yeah.
You did lose 6 or 7 fucking jobs in 2 weeks. It's okay because there's more coming. You know what I mean? That's the key. You have to silence that voice when the doubts start to kind of creep in because it'll just absolutely kill you.
The reality is, I always say there's many inner voices, but there's definitely one that's always trying to kind of rain on your parade, so to speak. That was the power that when I met Andy Elliott, went out there and people were like, why are you picking this guy? I was like, you know what? Especially when I got to him, I think he'd probably be blown away by that because I've been around guys that have had impressive, like Ivy League guys around underneath them. But he took guys that were impressive now, but were drug addicts, went down the wrong path, whatever. And their presentation, their attention to detail, their physical appearance was like movie characters. Like, how did you clean him up?
Yeah.
And to me, I've seen a lot of rich people around here bury their kids, and they spent an ungodly amount of money. I said, if this man can make these young men and women believe, I want to see what this is all about. My friends were like, really? I go, there were 5 guys there that their stories, I was like, as a coach, as we are as parents and dads, I'm like, oh my God, Like that rocks me thinking about that's my son or my daughter, you know, and to get to the other side, I'm like, you know, I think Andy was blown away because he goes, that's what you noted? Like, he goes, I go, listen, man, I want to move people.
Yeah.
Like in my coaching space, I want my clients to be like, he's like Denzel when he speaks, like his power of how much he believes in what he does. I can get behind that. And whatever you're saying to them, they're loyal and they live it and they do it. And the one guy, it was funny. Like he basically was like leader of the Pirates, if you will. He was the Captain Jack because he said, listen, Tommy, here's the deal. I'll hire you. But for 12 months, you got to stay clean. And you have to be the number one sales guy for 12 consecutive months. Not 10, not 9, not 8, not 7, not 6, not 11, 12. You do that, you have a job.
Yeah.
For a guy that couldn't stay on his feet for 3-4 years, stayed clean for a year, never looked back.
Man, it's tough love. And, you know, I was going to say
and that's the name of the podcast, people.
Yeah, that's the name of it. It's tough love. And, you know, I'm a father. There's a daily challenge. You think you have problems in your life, but when you become a parent, it's another level. You know, it's another level of commitment because I have to impart everything in order to make sure that your kids are successful.
Yes.
That's a massive commitment. It's really hard to deliver that message.
Yes.
Not everyone wants to hear it. And if you have someone who has the personality or the character of like, you know, hard-headed and they're on their way to being successful already, but it's like you have to guide these people a certain way. I don't know any other way to do that than strike right directly at the core of who that person is. And the only way you're successful doing that is by revealing everything about your core yourself.
Yes.
The stakes are way too high with people like this, these high achievers, these people that, or the other way around. Like if someone is at the point in their lives when they can't turn it around, but someone manages to do that, there's only one way that they get them to do that.
Yeah.
It could be timing too, but there's got to be something about the delivery. It's got to be something about the way you come across. It's got to be something about the way you reach someone. You can't do the work for them. You're asking them, you're conveying to them that A, you can do it, and you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
You have to figure out how to deliver that. It's really hard. And so parenting is the one thing that from all the years of the people that we've met, our coaches, our mentors, sports, holy shit.
Good ones and bad ones been around us, right?
All the people, like the ones that failed, the ones that succeeded, the good coaches, the bad coach, all of that stuff. If I've learned anything, it was that connection that's gonna happen when you're ready and when this person can figure out a way to reveal themselves to you so that you can find yourself too. That's what true mentors do.
Agreed. And you know, it's funny. It's not what they say. It's how what they said made you feel.
Or how they say it. It's like almost like they're living their truth.
Yeah.
That's the credibility that first you have to have the credibility in what they're saying because they're kind of living it.
Probably, it's funny, like, you know, we're actually, I think, the exact same age, but if I was your older brother and we were talking about kids today and it's like, this is your week to put out fires in your house, but usually it's my week. But the reality is that I think one of the biggest messages that you shared with me that I thought was so powerful, and I could see it in your eyes. I can see it in your eyes right now. You're on a cloud right now. And you are feeling like, you know what? I've been working my ass off at this craft, this skill. And when you think you've made it versus grinding, just like that, it's amazing how humbling this profession can be. That's what life is, right? You think you're good, you wake up and all of a sudden your shoulder don't work, your knee doesn't work, or you get a call from one of your parents, they're not doing well. Boom, in an instant, right? So it is so important to realize that little dash every day's game day.
Yeah, every day.
And you got to show up.
You push every day. You could never be satisfied. You know, if you go too far, it could become a problem. But you know, a healthy dose of a challenge every day and always pushing for more. You always want more. Doesn't mean that your increments are going to be by, you know, like 100-pound bench press in 1 year. But if you go up 5 pounds steady and you never go back and you never lose that max and you maintain that max that you worked for, let's say throughout your 20s, and you never go below it in your 30s, dude, you have won. So it's like, try to be 0.5% better every day. It's not overreaching. It doesn't mean that you're this person that can never be satisfied. Yeah, you're satisfied, but part of the satisfaction comes from knowing that you've achieved something and now you're moving on to the next thing.
Absolutely. I'm going to go back because I'd asked you something today. You came into the office and we were using the soft shockwave on your shoulders.
Yeah.
By the way, world, just a heads up.
Yeah.
Right here, my man's about to blow it up and say he loves it. Our soft shockwave device by Medray Laser and Technology keeps the man crushing it at 40 plus 10 something.
Yes.
You know, and keeps his shoulders working where he's been told he could need a replacement. So just, you heard it here.
Yeah. No, I wasn't going to go for the surgery. When your shoulder cuffs are damaged, the blood flow, all that stuff. And it's hard to heal that part of your body. And so that thing went right in there and it stimulated everything that needed to kind of start healing because it just finds it. All the areas that are tender, like you mentioned, everything that hurts, it'll find it and it'll like activate kind of like a healing process. So
I normally don't jump in and throw a promotion like that, but I figured I'd
No, it's due. Listen, PRP this past year.
Game changer.
Cortisone, right? So I've had all of the things, minus the stem cell. That would have been the next step,
That's
right?
next,
the super shot, right?
Yeah.
I tried needles. I tried the stem needles. I tried all of that stuff. This, it might have been timing, but I think it was more than timing.
Yeah, you got to see it. You feel it.
You difference. Dug out whatever, like it's kind of like breaking down the scar tissue, and it found it. And so once you get blood flowing and stimulating that area again, it takes time. It's not overnight. It got better in like a month.
Awesome. Love it. One of the things I'm going to circle back to is, we talked about this, is that finding a role.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to give a little tease. We're thinking Yellowstone. We're thinking cowboy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a guy that in my perfect life by design that I'm working on right now, I would definitely buy a house out in Colorado or Wyoming as like the escape zone where I'm like, fellas, everybody get their tickets. We're going out to the ranch.
Yeah.
You know, but what are your thoughts as a person that grew up in the city, Puerto Rico, right? And the city, and even being here in the burbs, what are your thoughts doing like a role like that?
Well, you know, I'm excited because I think the way that I wanted to learn, and one of the reasons I wanted to learn to act is to get away from who I am as a person. In a weird way, the further I get away from who I am, the better I feel with regards to the work. The more I can stretch, the more that I can lose myself in something else, someone else, another character, another temperament, different temerity, different tastes. I just feel like I'm achieving more in that work, right? I mean, it's just a simple...
We talked about that on the last podcast.
It's just, so for me, you know, there's a lot of things you work on, your speech, your movement, all these things that you work on so that you could be something else. It's a trip to me that I have the opportunity to kind of probably be in a role that's going to be the furthest stretch from, like, let's say my upbringing and my background. You know?
Got it.
So,
have you ever shot like a bow and arrow or a shotgun?
So I have. I was one of those kids. I kind of grew up like a Boy Scout, like being in the wild, pitching tents, and
good. You saw that.
So
I don't know if I've had to bring you over to the house and kind of take you through the different weapons.
I grew up. My father was a roper. We had this incredible quarter horse growing up. So like for like 6-7 years, my father, all the four of us went to rodeos just to watch him. Hung out all day.
Very cool.
Going crazy all over the place. You know, we were at a ranch, learned about horses, learned a lot about horsemanship and riding. And, you know, we were not quite big enough to get on that. That horse was dangerous, man. Super powerful. But I learned a lot. I rode other horses that were smaller.
You heard it here. Listen. So if you see him jump on a horse and he's coming for Kevin Costner, you heard it here first. And he could be a baller on the horse.
We'll see about that. But yeah, it's exciting, man. Look, at the end of the day, it's playing, right? I am living my dream. I'm getting to do the things that, as a 6, 7, 8-year-old boy, just imagining day to day without a care in the world, just living freely like a child. I got to do these things, and I'm doing them as an adult. It's insane. This is what I wanted to do. I'm doing it, so I'm grateful.
Talk to me about, I know we talk about getting role prep, and it's impressive, you know, and I think Michael, I'm going to butcher his name. You're going to know who, you'll correct me. Michael Beecham? I think Michael Beach. He's an actor.
Michael Beach. Yeah,
Michael Beach.
Yeah.
He's a West Coast guy. I see him pop up a lot with Michael Hearn. And I believe he's got us by like 10 years. He's probably like 60 in fantastic shape.
Yeah.
I believe he was actually in the Sylvester Stallone movie, King.
Oh.
He was the dad of Tulsa Kings.
Tulsa Kings, yeah.
Tulsa King or whatever. I believe he was the dad of one of the kids, the driver that became one of his gangsters.
The guy that started driving him around, right.
And it was funny because he kept himself in great shape, but I've been following him, and I'm like, you know what? Now, here's a guy that's been a career actor like yourself. But what I love, and this is like, oh, we're doing this. So Chris David, I'm like, you know what? People got to know that. Because like he's in his garage, like he's the dad that pops out of his garage and is lifting as the other dads are going by and give him a flex.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I'm down with that.
I actually met him years ago in the city. I was taking a class with this guy that knew him.
Okay.
He got invited to one of his birthday parties. I think it was either this was a long time ago. I think it was Michael's either 30th or 40th.
Okay, we're talking a minute ago, yeah.
He was there, very humble guy at the time. He had come off a couple of big jobs, so he was trending, man. He was just working a lot. Yeah, I remember meeting him, and I was like, yeah, he's a short guy, but he's in shape.
Oh yeah, he looks like he's put together. Well, that's the funny thing about Hollywood. There's not a lot of guys that are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", right?
It's that trend has changed a little bit. There's quite a few big names and other people that are
like those brothers that made the Tarzan. Those dudes are giants from the
those guys are.
I think there's a couple brothers.
There's some taller men now. I mean, that's changed.
Neat.
I think. Yeah.
Tell me this. We talked about this last time, but what do you think is, because you're feeling it right now, right? How do you stay hot? Like, how does that work? Like, as you're in this role, you know, like in corporate finance, real estate, they're looking for the next house to push, the next job, the next big account. What does that look like in Hollywood? Are you already looking ahead to roles? Are your marketing people looking out there? Or
So it's amazing because while you're working, there's momentum. And so it's like a heightened sense that is not only being felt by you, but I think it's also being perceived by others.
The energy.
That helps a lot.
Like they had great energy.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a big thing in post-COVID.
Yeah.
That people talk about that. We were just talking about that with Eckhart Tolle and all these different energy harnessers, you know, if you will. They harness the energy and they talk about.
I mean, it's just the vibes, you know, like the moment, the significance of what it is that you're doing carries with it a certain, I don't know. My daughters have been saying this a lot lately, this aura farmer thing, like you're farming aura.
Okay.
I guess in a way that...
We got to ask our kids. They have great vocabulary.
No, but I like the idea because it is. There is an aura about you that is not only being felt, but it is also being perceived. And I cannot feel what you feel. I can have an idea of perhaps you might be feeling, only because I'm feeling that.
Yes.
But I can never really feel what you feel, but you perceive something. When things are going well, that's just, you know, that kind of spreads. And so it helps a lot to market yourself. It helps a lot from the standpoint of how you carry yourself. I still have other appointments. I'm still going into them. And I'm just in the way that I'm seeing the page, the way that I read that now. It's a different level of confidence. It's a different level. It's like, oh, well, if I get this, I can definitely combine with this and I can be... It's like you're thinking differently. Yeah. And all it is for me, I'm just speaking from... it's just... I wanted to do this because I wanted to be a working actor. I didn't want to be a movie star. I didn't want to be famous. I didn't want to be a celebrity. I really don't care about any of that shit. I just wanted to be working.
Got it.
And
that's your background, right? Like grow up, you have a job.
And that's the goal. That's really the end goal. So when you're floating on that cloud and that's what you're doing, and when you see someone that's actively living that way, everything around, you know, sometimes not for the better, but mostly for the better, kind of falls in line.
We talked about something. When are you about to disappear and start filming? Is it coming soon?
Yes, this is all kind of moving very fast. And they know because, of course, you know, when these opportunities come, you run. But yeah, I have no idea of what's going to, the next 2-3 weeks.
I just got to know where I got to ship the gym equipment. That's
yeah. No, don't worry. I'll figure out a way to get stuff. I have it down to like literally kettlebells. We spoke about this a little bit the last time.
Yeah.
A good set of 40 or 53-pound kettlebells inside a room. Because, you know, you can't always depend on the gyms in these hotels.
Yeah, without doubt. You got to be able to move
especially
kettlebells.
for guys like us. But yeah, that's all I need, I think. A good, maybe a band, maybe one of the higher intensity, a thicker band. And I think that could suffice, you know. The last place I stayed at, they had the heavy, you know, like
the flex stick?
No, the PVC pipes.
Oh, yeah.
The PVC, but weighted. Like a 40 to 50 pound
old
weighted,
school, like,
and it had
like
the
Rocky versus the Russian. Yeah.
It had like the rubber ends, you know. That was really cool, man. Like you can do a lot with that. A lot. The heaviest one is like 50 or 60 pounds. You can do a lot, you know.
You know, it's funny. I think I have an aversion to that growing up doing tree work with my dad. So when I see that labor stuff, the axe thing, the whatever, I'm like, I did all this with my pop. I mean, I will say, I love that time.
Yeah.
I loved watching how physical and strong he was. And I think that's why, like, I've always put a lot of work into my body, because watching my old man, like, grab a tree, strip the limbs off, and then pop that tree up onto his shoulder and walk it into a wood chipper. And I'm like, I go lift to one side, it was like sword and stone. I'm like, well, I'm not King Arthur. That thing ain't moving.
Let me tell you, man, there's nothing like that. There's nothing like the example of that kind of man. And I lived it too. I respect that so much. I used to hold his feet down when he was doing sit-ups.
I love it.
He had an old barbell, the skinny barbell with the cement weights and the plastic on the outside.
You're going way back, the gray ones, yeah. They'd leak, you go on the floor, you'd be traumatized.
They'd break, and then you smash them, and then the dust would start to fall out the little hole that it had on the edge. But yeah, watching my dad, and you know, the rodeo guy, and then the surfer, and then motocross, and I had this image of a physical man that was active, and then also during the week was working like a dog, but had all these, and then a fisherman. and then taught us how to, go out and go camping. So all of those activities, all of that taught me a lot about physicality, about handling myself, about always being ready.
Yeah. Head on a swivel.
Always, yeah. And training, head on a swivel. Absolutely. Awareness.
Yeah.
Right? Knowing how to take a fucking punch, because some of them you're gonna have. You're gonna have one or two that are gonna get you, and you're gonna figure out a way to stay on your feet. You're gonna be dizzy, but stay on your feet. Do not go down. And if you gotta call it, call it. Like that kind of awareness and that kind of fearlessness that you gotta have in owning everything about your physicality, because you may lose from time to time, but being ready was the key. Being ready. Like there's no way that guys like us would ever be fucking stuck calling AAA to change a flat.
No.
Like we would never do that.
No.
We would never be able to not start a fire if we don't have lighter fluid or something. Like you have to fucking survive. Basic stuff you should know.
I can hear my dad. You probably hear your dad, and my dad's health is not great these days. I could hear my dad in any of those situations, and he'd be like, "I raised you better. Get underneath that car."
Yeah. And safely, stupidly.
Yeah.
Right? But safely. You're going to fix the tire and then drive off. You're not going to fucking create a problem by doing 100%. Something that you acting like you know how to do, but really you do know how to do. You don't know, but you really do know how to do it. So yeah, it's so important. It's one of the biggest keys in my life, what he taught us. And I grew up, my parents were divorced early, so it was just my father and my two brothers. And so he was the Eagle Scout and we were the Wibelows. We were just following him.
It's funny when we talk about, and again, we were talking about it earlier today, like prepping for tonight, the way we were parented versus how we parent today in 2025, it is definitely different, right? Now it's like mergers and acquisitions with the kids, right? We're negotiating and they're using ChatGPT on us. And
that is fucking a great analogy. Mergers and acquisitions, and they're using ChatGPT to answer our questions.
Yeah. And versus when we were kids, it was a straight up hostile takeover, right? Like if your parent was coming in the room and you were talking, there was no more talking coming back. And I promise you were probably running for cover if you did talk back, because you had heard, they couldn't even speak at that point. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, of course.
You didn't even know what language, was that English? You're like, I don't know. But
it didn't matter. You would understand it. If it was important enough, you would understand it.
For sure.
It's one of the things that I'm just like, look, I'll say this about it. There's a level of reverence that we had. Okay. None of us were saints. Let's just be honest. All right. It's not that we were saints, but I was thinking about this after, we spoke about it briefly. And I think about this, like I said, almost every day. We all take risks.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that there's a level of trust. We had to have a level of trust to let go of our kids, because we have them for a short time. Our job is to shape them as they're achieving who they are. Like we're not making them. We're just simply guiding along, right? The hardest thing is that we have to accept that they're going to take some crazy fucking risks.
Yeah.
And you know what? You just have to let these things happen. I just feel like there was a level of trust that if the situation hit the fan a certain kind of way, I know that my father felt like that we can handle ourselves in certain ways.
These kids are different. Yeah.
And so I think due to all the things we've talked about today, like the lack of awareness, the speed by which they're getting their answers nowadays, the lack of process that exists, and even just building a relationship. Like these kids think that they know someone because they talk to them on a fucking app. They think they know that person through and through.
Safe, yeah, and don't realize it.
And they don't realize, no, you don't. So because of all that, I have an anxiety.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you see it in Hollywood, right? I mean,
I have an anxiety I have a higher level of anxiety that my father probably had with me, because I just don't know if there's a readiness. I'm not here to prevent everything from happening, because we can't do that. I just want to be able to have
an awareness.
Trust.
Yeah.
I want to be able to trust. I've done what I needed to do. I've seen the growth. Okay, so now if shit hits the fan with them, can they handle it? I think for the most part, I'm feeling good about that, but it is very hard to get there. It's very hard to get there.
You know what's funny? The last couple of years, I kind of had to rebuild myself, my career, and it required me to do like a deep reflection. And the one thing that I learned, and it's helped me be a better parent, especially I lost time with them, all right? And also it was the time you're going to lose with them anyway, because they're with their teenage boyfriend or girlfriend, they're with their friend groups, and they're connecting at a different level, and they want their freedom. They are yearning for it, and they're demanding it, and they're not negotiating. But when they circle back and they do, how are you injecting yourself and inserting yourself in those situations to be powerful? I use my clients nationally as if I'm speaking to my kids sometimes. And I'm like, they have to believe me, trust me, like me. Your kids, they're like, well, I can't pick my parent. I got stuck with them. Yeah. Is a line no parent wants to hear, right? Yeah. So you got to work a little bit harder. And don't get me wrong, we still got to parent, right? It's our job to parent them, not be friends with them, like to a degree, right? But, now as I'm helping people and getting genuine great answers back from clients, I said, hey kids, I've made so many mistakes along the way. And I'm going to share those with you because I feel like those are your best lessons.
Yeah.
Because, it's like I talk about wins and lessons, not losses, right? I don't use the loss word. I have basically eradicated that from my vocabulary. What did I learn? What lesson did that teach me that I evolved from? And when I can say that, teach you that, maybe just maybe, you're going to remember that and be able to reflect upon that when you need something to reach into in your well of, knowledge and wisdom that comes with experience. And fortunately, for me at least, I feel like my greatest wisdom usually came of my greatest failures, right?
That's one of the tough things, right? In my household, one of the tough things is understanding that failure is progress.
Yeah, without doubt.
I key in hard on sports because it's one of the ways that I feel it's one of the best teaching tools that we have. We talk about things like having a job and, when you were like 12 and 11, we don't have those tools anymore. So for me as a parent, the biggest tool is having kids committed to some type of discipline with sports and some kind of after activities, whether it's
commitment, responsibility.
Yeah, some type of responsibility. There hasn't been a need for my kids to go and necessarily get a job, right? Like there was sort of a need. And that was kind of like the way it was. You started working a lot earlier.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't have a lot of the tools. The sports are there. And that endurance and that resilience and the idea that, man, if you don't play for the best team in your, let's say, county, it would be completely cool if you went to a lesser known team and the team was built around you.
Yeah.
And perhaps you might lose a lot more than you would have lost with that other team. But you're building yourself, you're building others, things like that. I think that those are the things that I try to use because those are real effective tools.
That's real life.
But guess what? That's not me living those things for them. They have to live that.
Yeah, they have to want to receive that.
They have to want to receive that. It's hard because I don't think these kids, the difficulty that I'm having, I don't know if the numbers are as high as they were, let's say, in our generation of kids that stuck it out.
No, they quit now.
I don't like to even think like that, but it's true. Like I'm noticing that.
I'm going to be real honest. I don't care whether it's travel basketball, cheerleading, boxing, martial arts. Everybody's an expert. Everybody puts a shingle up. Everybody opens up a thing. If the cameraman doesn't make the camera team, his dad starts a camera team, right? Now he's the king of the camera team. Opportunity. Everything's so readily available. You can register online. You can create it. So there's rarely ever an end. When we were kids, there might have been a team, maybe 2, 3 if you were really lucky, right? And to compete, obviously, it was an even number because you had to play, but a lot of times there might have been you played everybody over and over and over again because there was an odd number of teams, right? The reality is that I see with these kids is that they can pivot so fast that instead of sticking it out, they roll out, jump on another team, and they learn how to quit as to what we see it. So I think it's a cultural shift a little bit, and that's a part of something that is bigger than this conversation, and we have more time to talk about it. But this is where a lot of great coaches retire.
Yeah.
I mean, elites, the Coach
K's,
the Jay Wrights, because they're like, listen, let's be honest. I read a great article on Mike Krzyzewski, and it was essentially him knowing that he was aging and he had to have younger counterparts and coaches around him that could understand 21-year-old Berto Colon and 20-year-old John O'Connor that, by the way, are potentially first-round lottery picks. How do I talk to them? They're only here for 1 year. I only have them for 9 months. How am I impactful? How am I relevant? And how do I make sure that they understand the message I'm delivering?
Like you said, it's a subject that is probably an entire day's podcast, but I brought it up simply because I think all those are all valid, and it makes you wonder, right? It makes you think about where we're heading, what kind of culture we're creating, like these shifts that's happening. Is it good overall? I mean, because no matter what, some guys will benefit, some guys and gals will benefit, but overall, the number of the people that are being affected negatively, I think is a lot higher.
Yeah, it is.
Take this portal, for example. I'm not even going to get into that, but that's one example. But for me, the reason I got into what I was saying was it's all about not leaving anything on the table for me. We're all good at different things. You know what I mean? I think for me as a parent, my job, and for me overall, the way that I approach things is that I don't want to leave anything that we have certain strengths and certain weaknesses. I want to harness as much of those strengths as possible and work on my weaknesses as well. But when you have opportunities that are right in your wheelhouse, that's like, for example, your Spanish class, your phys ed class, right?
Be great at it.
Don't come home with a B on that. Just don't come home with a B on those classes. Your parents have speak Spanish. You know a lot of Spanish. You need to know Spanish. You have family members that are only speak Spanish to you. Therefore, don't come home with a B, okay? Phys ed, you play 7 different sports in your outside life. You're this crazy athlete. don't come home with a B or a C in phys ed.
Yeah.
Like, you harness those strengths, you know what I mean? And that's the thing for me. Like, there's a lot, growing up in these kids, there's a lot of potential.
By the way, Colon kids, you better be listening to it because I have a feeling that
they'll get this at some point. They already heard the story, but this is not just for them. This is a general idea. This is an overall idea of the way we should all look to operate. Like, it really is about exploring a lot of things because, at the same time, like I always tell them, like, it's really unfair to assume that by the time you're 18, 19, or 20, that you already know what you're going to do with the rest of your life.
Agreed.
There's going to be so many inadvertent pivots and purposeful pivots. Like
100%.
there are things that
some are just going to happen. And
some things are
yeah.
just right. So the one thing you can get really good at is not fucking quitting and persevering and finding out what you're really good at and honing in on that.
Yeah.
Basically, that's all you have to do.
Agreed.
College is another platform for you to kind of explore that more individually. But you can't have this mentality of like, there's another option for me somewhere else if this isn't quite working. Like, you're going to just keep doing that. You're just going to keep repeating that with every challenge, at every turn. It's going to be the same shit over.
It's hard, you leave.
It's hard, you leave. Oh, for that group of friends, kind of, okay, I'll find out. You got to stick things through.
Agreed. Well, listen, I got to tell you, guys, today's podcast was absolute fire. Although we are resonating with the kids, these are lessons that we are telling ourselves because the same way with the consistency, 3 years ago, I started this coaching business. August this year, I'm going to a national platform to launch where it's going to take off. The social media platform is starting to launch. Perseverance, a lot of people would have quit, did something else, different hustle, said this isn't for me. I dug in. We were talking, Berto and I reconnected a few months ago. He for sure thought, hey, I got these deals locked in, done. Confidence was there. Well, you know what? For whatever the powers and the sources above said it wasn't meant to be, but new, bigger, and better things land on your plate. And again, it comes down to perseverance.
Yeah.
Berto, my friend, thank you so much. I wish you all the luck in the world with your upcoming shows.
You as well, my friend. Thank you, John. Thank you.
By the way, guys, you're about to see a badass fitness collab with my boy right here and Christopher David.
Excited about that. Thank you. Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much for joining the podcast. We'll see you again soon. Thank you. God bless. And please share the pod. Talk to you soon.